Hi, and welcome to another episode of Robbie's Pit Stop. Today we're going to be back on the Audi. We're going to be addressing wheel bolts to wheel studs. At the moment, and from the factory, they come with wheel bolts. Now, normally these are fine. However, with my wheel setup and the amount of times I'm changing the wheels at the track, either from semi-slicks to full slicks to race wets, actually changing the wheels over can be a bit of an ordeal. This is because of the way the wheel sits onto the hub. It's hard to hold it and get it lined up to get the wheel bolt in. So what I'm going to do is change over to the wheel studs. Now, I've ordered a kit from Dark Side Development. However, there's plenty of places out there. It arrived through the post yesterday, so we'll get down to opening this. So this is a full kit of 20 studs to replace the 20 bolts. The way they work is they've got thread on both sides with a stopping point, and this is threaded into the hub instead of the bolt that remains in. As you can see, the stopping point on it, and that side faces out towards the car with a hex head on the end for tightening and torquing in. Then the wheel will sit on by itself independently, and then you can easily put the nut over and torque down to spec. When these are getting fitted, you also need Loctite or similar product to make sure that the actual stud doesn't back out, become loose, come off when you're unbolting the wheels, anything like that. So, as usual, first stage of the job is to jack the car up. We'll then remove the wheel. We will check and clean the inside of the threads, ready then for Loctite to go on. Insert the stud, torque it down, repeat 20 times. So now the wheel's off, we can start cleaning up the area ready for putting the studs in. As I say, I have got a spacer on here as well, which does make it hard when you're trying to put the wheels on with the wheel bolts, as you're relying on the bore of the alloy wheel to sit onto this hub. And as you're trying to line up for the bolt to go in to its correct place, the spacer can sometimes turn independently. I've only got 5mm spacers in, and that is only because on the slicks with the width of them, they do start getting very close to the inner chassis legs. So as I said, we'll start cleaning up around the outside of the hub, but also concentrating inside each hole to make sure it's clear of any grease, oils, anything like that, ready for the Loctite to be able to take properly with the new studs going in. So with these wheel studs, it's important to remember everything's nice and clean before you use the Loctite. Red Loctite, that's the permanent type. And with these, with the 5mm hex, you're not looking at getting a huge torque with these. Most people would recommend for you to have about 20 to 25 Newton meters. All I'm doing is tightening in until they bottom out onto that shoulder and a little nip up. You don't need to soak the thing in Loctite. Once they're all Loctite and tightened down, it's advisable to leave them for about 3 hours before you actually refit the wheel and torque it down fully, and then everything should be fine after that. So let's crack on and get the other 15 done. So now we'll get on with the rear. Same job again. Take it off, clean up, Loctite, move on to the next. That's why we're fitting studs. It's a bit easier when you're close to the ground because you can use your legs and stuff, but once we have the studs on, it'll be a lot better. Just a mixed up degreaser. Just try and get each thread as clean as we can. Now, obviously, once I've got my glue roll into a suitable shape for going in, I'm turning it clockwise so it actually goes into the threads, winds in and cleans through the threads. Now, I'm sure everyone's got their own way of doing the Loctite. I personally like to do a thin line right down the thread and then round on the bottom one, just to make sure it's getting everywhere we want it. Start off by hand to make sure you get the thread right. Then, as I say, with these ones 5mm hex, make sure it's fully in. Hexes are always quite easy to round off, and then just a nip up. Just put your full body weight in it. As I said, for a street car, I probably wouldn't even bother with this. It's simply because of the amount of times that we change different sets of wheels while we're at the track, and it's a right nuisance trying to hold it, line it up, and get a bolt started. Whereas these studs can do all the work and hold the wheel while I get the nut and get that on. And that's it. Simple as that. You just keep on going. Let's jump round the other side. the last one. Right, that's all of them done. So as I said, we'll leave it 2-3 hours and then come back and try the wheels and see how much easier that is to get them on and off. Okay, that's been a couple of hours, so let's give this a go and see how much better it is putting a wheel on. Obviously, we've still got the nuts in place. Oh, so much better. Yeah, not 17 anymore, 19. Yep, onto a 19. I'll fit in past the alloy. Should do. I always prefer starting these by hand, and then you can go onto the gun. The last thing you want to do is cross thread your new studs. Oh, smells better. That looks good as well. Come in and have a look at that. Right, well that's it. Thanks for watching. Again, I hope that's been helpful for anyone wanting to go to wheel studs over the factory wheel bolts. And look forward to getting on to next week, where we'll be getting on with the ventilation into the cab on this Audi. See you later.